and welcome once again. I have Nicole with me. Nicole is the founder of Screen Time Clinic, an international network of digital wellness educators, which empower families, businesses to reach their ideal level of functioning by clarifying priorities and creating healthy habits. She is a lifelong advocate of education, former teacher, author, and a single mother of two teens with a passion for preventing screen related problems since 2014. With over 20 years' experience teaching and being a step parent or parent, Nicole knows all the challenges different stages of life involve. I'm very happy that Nicole is here because she has an amazing presentation to show you. Nicole, welcome.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me. And it's so nice to be putting on this presentation together. I think everybody's going to get a little tidbit of everything with every presentation they watch.
Oh, I'm excited to watch yours as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what your presentation is going to touch on and why is it important for all of us to watch it till the end?
Sure. My presentation takes a little inside look. It's a different twist about some of the roadblocks and myths that we often come across when we're trying to make decisions about digital wellness for our families. Because knowing what is hanging, in the background of our mind or really preventing us from making that change is an important step for moving forward. And then we also look at just the science behind digital wellness and what's happening to our children and their minds and their bodies when they have overstimulation and some of the risks for electronic screen syndrome and virtual autism now. A lot of doctors are talking about and taking an inside look as to the risk factors to those too. So not every child is the same. And certainly that's why we don't recommend just a blanket no screens for anybody, but it's important to know your child's risk profile and then 3 things that you can do right away that really make a big difference, mostly revolving around a media plan that we'll talk about in that presentation also.
It's amazing to hear someone take an approach that is so vast from the well-being to the science to the organization and the steps that we can implement in our family. But most important, I want to say that looking at the risks that can be available online, it's kind of scary to think what we're allowing our children access to, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and I know my presentation is not the only one that touches on, the risks and also that conception of like it can't possibly happen to my child or my child's too young or my child's too self-aware or we just, that's not our family. And it's the stories that you've probably heard and we hear, personal experiences, even with some of the presenters, it's just across the board. There is no income, no religion, no society. If you are connected to the internet, that risk is very, very real.
I personally cannot wait to watch your presentation. I am sure everyone watching this is going to be interested to watch till the end. Everyone, this is Nicole, one of the co-hosts and an amazing presenter. Here's her presentation.
Hello, I'm Nicole Rawson, the founder of Screen Time Clinic based in San Diego. Welcome to this 35-minute presentation where we will talk about the risks of screen time, myths, and roadblocks parents face, and 3 important ways to prevent virtual autism, gaming addiction, and media overstimulation so your children can flourish. I'm so glad you're taking this time to watch this presentation, so I want to start off with my promise to you. Stay with me over the next 30 minutes while we talk about how limiting screen time can not only keep kids safe from predators and unsavory content, but also dramatically improve symptoms or prevent problems relating to temper tantrums, behavior disorders, learning challenges, ADHD, and autism spectrum disorders. A correlation many parents, therapists, counselors don't even realize. I promise this is great insight for parents or anyone who works with children or parents. All the research and studies referenced can be found on the Screen Time Clinic website in the resource section. Now, because I understand how life can pull us in many directions, I'm asking you take this time to put aside any distractions. You won't want to miss what's ahead. Silence your phone, close the windows on your computer, resist the temptation to check social media or text messages, fold laundry, or anything else that's so tempting to get accomplished. As much as multitasking can be a great skill, when it comes to soaking in new information, it's been proven that our brains do this best without distraction, which is why we also want to set our kids up for success this way. Now is the time to focus only on how the information I'm going to present relates to your family or families you work with, and think about how you can envision it helping your situation or helping others. This webinar is going to be an eye opening experience, and our kiddos are worth it. So, to start off, let's get right to it. Studies show that many children are more susceptible to the highly stimulating and potentially addictive nature of time online or even viewing television with even minimal amount of time in front of screens. If your child falls into the following categories, please consider eliminating screen time rather than just reducing it because it could have big benefits. These include younger age when exposed to media, male gender, ADHD, ADD tendencies, even without a formal diagnosis, compulsive or obsessive behaviors, autism spectrum disorder, mood, behavior, attention, anxiety, addiction, and sleep disorders, intellectual disabilities, chronic medical conditions, learning disorders in any subject, sensory motor disorders, academic inattention, low reading levels, poor social skills, a family history of addiction or mental illness, premature birth or even delivery trauma, traumatic brain injuries, and abuse or foster care or family trauma. Screen time may temporarily pacify or distract or be something the child enjoys in the moment, perhaps seems like their only friends are online, but it actually causes more dysregulation and challenges than the benefits of the temporary pacifying. I know how much information can seem overwhelming, but by the end of this presentation, I'm going to show you how you can greatly reduce the risks of screen time and reconnect families with three simple methods. You're going to know exactly what you can do to keep kids safe and create new healthy routines and reinforce the great things you are already probably doing. If you're here, you can be confident that you're in the right place. I know you're doing your best to be a great parent or advocate for children, because otherwise you wouldn't even be interested in this webinar. And of course, as parents and professionals, we want to make our kids happy and give them what they want and provide a great experience. But you can already probably see that screen time is causing some really concerning behavior with our youth at home and in school and out in society. Even the way babies are drawn to the light on a phone should raise a red flag from the very start. You probably belong to multiple parenting groups, have taken courses or classes, or consulted with specialists when it comes to the development of your children, and feel like you are close to being on the right track. But it's still a constant struggle to know exactly what to do, especially when it comes to limiting children's screen time. Feeling like you're herding cats, constantly making efforts to redirect away from screens, or don't know where to start or what will really make a big difference. Or you are just like millions of other parents and professionals that honestly haven't really given it much thought and don't even realize there is a correlation between defiant behavior, developmental delays, and screen time. Plus, maybe things aren't now too bad when the kids watch TV occasionally or jump on an iPad to give you a break, but deep down inside, we're all worried because we know there's got to be a better way for kids to grow up than distracted on devices, because parents have big dreams for these kids to flourish with friends and live a really healthy life. Trust me, I get it. The struggle to guide children in the digital age is real, and you are concerned or confused for good reason. But I'm here to tell you today the confusion is not your fault. See, the thing about babies, toddlers, kids, and screen time is that most adults don't see the real story behind why it creates so many problems and even what 30 minutes does to the developing brain. Tech companies use addictive programming designs in all of their games and programs. Yep, even the cute ones claiming they're educational, making it a constant battle once they are started. Young children are particularly sensitive to the intense visually stimulating designs, which creates dependency even from a small amount of time online or in front of TV. This is why we see temper tantrums when devices are removed and total captivation and soothing capabilities that become more difficult than a binky or a blankie to remove later in life. Dr. Doan has great information about this in his book, Hooked on Games. And a broken American education system and culture of competitive parenting makes things worse. That puts early achievement pressure on parents and measures childhood academic success by metrics and standardized tests. Parents feel pressured to show their littles educational programs on iPads to teach them reading and writing, which has been for many years proficiently achieved without any technology. School districts and teachers purchase tech and programs without evaluating the necessity and negative impact of overstimulation, lack of focus stamina it causes, and reduction of social emotional skills that occurs when children sit in front of screens rather than engaging with teachers and peers. So, why do we feel pressure to have our children reading by kindergarten, thinking baby Einstein and iPads are the best way to teach valuable skills and soon as possible? And that social media, iPhones, and gaming is a necessary rite of passage for teenagers to feel happy and connected when we can see it causes them to be withdrawn and depressed. I'll tell you why. It's all part of the big tech push for more money for our kids to love their products and be hooked on their offerings. The $175 billion gaming industry is larger than the movie and sports industry combined. There's so much conflicting information in the news, it's hard for parents and professionals to decide what is actually right for children. We see more and more articles published by mainstream media dismissing the facts and parental and teacher concerns, supporting big tech, complaining the harms to children are not real. But like so many things in the news these days, this simply isn't true. And today you're going to find out why, because electronic screen syndrome, virtual autism, online predators, and harm to developing bodies is a real thing that you are going to want to be aware of when it comes to how you choose to protect children from harm they grow up and what you advise parents. The fact about risks to children are very clear to those in the medical and digital wellness industry. Studies have been conducted for long periods of time, over 10 years now, with the same results about children and screens. At Screen Time Clinic, our coaches work to educate parents and teachers and professionals about these problem potentials so they can make informed decisions. We aren't anti tech at all. We are for balanced and age appropriate choices and uses when it comes to media. So let's talk about children's brains functioning for a moment. When a young child spends as little as 30 minutes watching media on TV or online, particularly very intense, like cartoons and highly visual, it moves brain blood flow from the thinking and problem solving parts of the brain to the primitive reward pathways of the part of the brain. Remember, because delayed gratification isn't developed until the mid 20s, it's extremely difficult for children or even older teens to self regulate away from screens as long as they are engaged. Once the reward pathways become overdeveloped from the gradual increase in time online, it creates a dependency that affects moods, learning ability, and behavior, trying to absorb more and more dopamine from the reward pathways these programs stimulate. We see this in very young children and even toddlers who throw temper tantrums after a short time online, or teens who become so absorbed in games they don't even stop to eat. As they become older and it starts interfering with regular life and learning, many professionals are considering this situation to be electronic screen syndrome or even labeling it as virtual autism because the symptoms can be the same as we see on the autism spectrum. And by then, it takes a lot of work to reprogram the whole family's technology habits, but much of it can be eliminated or reversed. Unfortunately, this is where the majority of our clients come from at Screen Time Clinic when children are older and their behavior becomes totally unmanageable. By addressing these risks early, we can help our children while they are still young build healthy routines. Additionally, pediatric occupational therapists are witnessing firsthand a sharp rise in toddlers needing help learning how to do basic developmental things because too much time is spent on TV or online. This is a list an OT in New York gave me about her observations in children as young as 18 months that may in the industry are confident are related to screen time on screens and from their observations and interviews with the parents that they can tell it's related. If you work with toddlers or have a baby or a toddler, pause this slide to review the list of concerning side effects of a little bit too much screen time. Even 30 minutes a day can cause dysregulation. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but if you have a child under 5 years old with concerning defiant behavior, possible learning disabilities, or not meeting the physical benchmarks of walking, talking, running, and interacting, remember how hard it was or will be to take away the binky, blankie, or pacifier? Well, think about screens as a many times more addictive habit than thumb sucking and attachment issues because of the vibrant stimulation, plus the situation habit of using during certain times. If you have littles at home or in preschool, I would strongly encourage eliminating all screens as soon as possible. If your kids are older and had access to screens early in life, this is possible insight as to why they may seem more addicted or dependent than other children. It's important to note that parents shouldn't be surprised or proud of how well their babies or children use technology. It's literally designed to be that way to hook kids from an early age. The Waldorf School is famous for offering a screen free education whose students flourish, as well as many other new low or no tech schools, realizing the big benefits it provides when young and how easy it is to catch on as young adults in high school or college when needed and appropriate. In addition to interfering with brain and developmental milestones, screen time spent online is a contributing factor to eye strain and problems from blue light toxicity. New studies come out all the time supporting these facts that naysayers often overlook. But even if it was possibly true, wouldn't you want to take steps to prevent what might happen? Like not drinking at all while pregnant is the course of best action. And even if you don't believe all the studies, you can certainly see for yourself sometimes problematic problems that they cause in our homes and with kids out in public staring at screens rather than interacting with peers or sitting appropriately with adults. However, most parents either allow it and in hindsight really regret it, or they don't realize the correlation between screen time and developmental problems, or they fight it without a solid plan, creating constant conflict. And this is what the educators at Screen Time Clinic really help families avoid. So let's take a moment to imagine how ideally most parents would want screen time to look like for their family. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your life. You wake up in the morning feeling confident of providing a safe path for your children to flourish in life. No more worrying or arguing about screen time. There are systems in place to ensure a balance. If you have a parenting partner, they are supportive about your path to guide your children to grow up with good values like kindness, empathy, compassion, and respect. If you are parenting on your own, you are confident of your choices. You've set up a plan for time online that is true to your values and what your family is all about. no longer trying to appease your children's or others' demands or be like other families because you know the big benefits limiting screens now will have for your children in the future. Time spent interacting with your children is intentional rather than reactive or rushed. You feel comfortable seeing your children grow and overcoming real life challenges that build a strong sense of self. The precious childhood time offline becomes a natural way of life into the teenage years, giving way for more meaningful activities with others and a strong family unit. Academic achievement becomes easier because when they are older, they're having focus stamina in school. They know how to ask for help. They aren't distracted. They are engaging with teachers, and the right amount of time is spent completing tasks and preparing for assessments. You are proud of the successful yet humble children you have helped nurture. Now, let me ask you, as you open your eyes, how will you feel different as a parent, teacher, or counselor once this huge part of most families' life is properly in place and screens are no longer interfering with family, friends, activities, tutoring, counseling, and the focus is in the classroom, getting homework finished, and making good choices at home? It's a great feeling, and we are here to tell you it's completely possible. For many families have done it, and parents have the power to make these changes, but it must start at home. So, before we get into how to achieve this ideal state of functioning, just one moment to talk about me so you can know who you're hearing from today, because you might still be wondering, why listen to me? But as you know, my name is Nicole Rawson. I'm a former teacher, MBA, mom, and the founder of Screen Time Clinic. I've been teaching for over 2 decades now and helping families find balance and harmony with their relationship to technology since 2019. I'm confident that my knowledge will also help you. As an experienced teacher, I've seen the problems of technology overuse with our youth from both an educator perspective and a parent. I've seen the abuse of one on one devices in schools, causing more distraction and harm than help. When I became immersed in the research and finally took screens away when my son was 14, it gave space to transform his life into a pilot, something he would have never chosen to be immersed in when he was online all the time. Yep, that's a picture of me and him. I'm probably more excited than he is because I know what a big parenting win it was to transform his life offline and doing something meaningful actually in the sky. Over the past years, I've done a deep dive into the research about screens and children and have an extensive network of doctors, neuroscientists, psychologists, and other experts that keep me up to date about the latest research relating to kids and screens, and spent thousands of hours reading the latest books. I've been a parent in some sort of capacity over 22 years, and both as a stepmom, married mom, and single mom for 10 years. And trust me, no family dynamic is perfect when it comes to screen strategy. But I know from my own experience and from countless others that I've coached, it is possible to find balance. So, all right, let's get real for a minute. Honestly, it's a parenting jungle out there. There's so much misinformation, largely thanks to the internet. When it comes to screens and families, it's easy to see why so many parents are confused about what is really best for their kids. But having both parents aware about these traps and clearly understanding the risks is super important to make lasting change in the home, bringing parents peace of mind and secure relationships with each other and their children. If your spouse will watch one parenting seminar, have him or her watch this one and talk about the importance about being on the same page. As promised, here are some of the most common challenges out there we see preventing parents from having success figuring out a screen routine for themselves. Many parents think technology helps their children learn from a young age because other parents tell them it's necessary, or they see ads claiming that it can teach reading and writing and language skills. In reality, children don't need technology to learn and don't need to learn everything as soon as possible. Most parents also don't think anything bad online will actually happen or be encountered or instigated by their own child. There's a lot of talk about trusting our children and building trust, but trust should not be applied to situations with likely dangerous encounters and potentially addictive properties like drugs, alcohol, and yep, time online. Trusting kids online is a total disaster because they are not the ones in control. Parents should be. You can often see parents responding in chat groups. Kids need privacy, independence, and freedom of choice. If they trust you, they will come to you with problems, so don't snoop. To parents and others who may feel this way, I'd like to respond with a quote that stuck with me from an interview with Tim Ballard, one of the top human trafficking rescuers who sees how the internet transforms the innocent into victims. Tim shared his point blankly. What parents need to understand is that any app or any game your child is playing, social media or otherwise, if there is a connection where people from the outside can come in and can access your child, it is equally dangerous across the board as a face to face interaction with a stranger that they are alone with. Would you let your 12-year-old go clubbing or bar hopping on a Friday night? As you might imagine, most parents always respond, no, of course not. Then why would you trust your child to have access to the internet behind a closed door or without robust monitoring? It just doesn't make sense. But don't forget, children are master manipulators and really hard to say no to all the time. If it makes them happy, you may think, well, what's the harm? Of course, sometimes parents just need a break and for there to be quiet and actually get some work done. But using screens as a babysitter isn't worth the dysregulation it causes. And let's acknowledge that tech confusion is a real thing and you just don't know all the settings. So why even try to limit it or monitor? There's even psychologists claiming that recreational gaming can be beneficial for children if you do it with them or let them do a little bit of time. No surprise, these individuals are gamers themselves or work with companies that benefit from treating those with a gaming addiction, just like those articles we talked about at the beginning of the presentation. And parents, unfortunately, have to watch out for therapists who just don't know about the risks of gaming and time online for littles and given autism, ADHD, or behavior diagnosis, prescribing drugs or therapy rather than addressing possible root causes stemming from screen time, social media, gaming, and parenting structures at home that allow it. Much easier for other adults to blame kids and try medication and allow them to find connections online and continue harmful habits than be accused of criticizing the parents or teens and not have them return for therapy. And there are new apps and games every day claiming to be great for kids, and seems like everyone else is letting their kids and babies go online, sending their teens without care of consequences. So it may seem pointless to try to do better, but I guarantee it's not. Much of the time with parenting advice from chat groups can seem like the blind are leading the blind, just doing what someone else claims works for them or what they allow should be what you allow too, which isn't the goal when you are trying to improve your situation. Parents deserve current, proven information about screens back from digital wellness experts and doctors who have taken a deep dive into screen time specific research, methods, and solutions that will really make a difference for families and their children. Screen Time Clinic has the largest network of trusted digital wellness educators and network of resources to help parents and provide seminars for schools, youth groups, and those who work with parents. Because we know with the right support, everyone can do better. I know parents often wonder if they will ever be able to create peace in their home around screens. And the answer is yes, they can. We've seen it happen and it is possible. And reducing screen time really makes a big difference, but it is based on your unique situation. So let's talk about some of the roadblocks that parents face in the digital age and have probably encountered when trying to manage their kids' screen time. Knowing what is holding us back is a critical step in moving forward to have resolve to make a plan. Perhaps you have made some mindful choices in your home, limiting screens from the start, but are second guessing your actions, wondering if kids are missing out. Tried to reduce screen time or take away screens, but the temper tantrums from your kids were so great that you decided it really wasn't worth the effort because you don't know if it would actually stop. Had your husband or partner disagree that it's even necessary for the children or themselves? Have your mom friends question your motives, why it's necessary, accuse you of mom shaming or being judgmental for even wanting to limit? Maybe read a few articles that made you feel worse about your situation, so you just give up and not even know where to start, even though you know you should. Plus, being the fun police, bad cop, joy killer, rule maker really isn't a pleasurable task to undertake by yourself. Nobody wants to do it, let's just be honest. And have probably tried things like being creative in managing playtime online, giving tokens, using screen time as a reward, or setting up limits, only allowing a few shows, asking kids to turn it off when it seems like they're doing too much. But despite all this, you can see screen time taking hold of your most precious children, seeing them want a little more each time, demanding their favorite show or game, or wanting to do less offline because it's less stimulating, which can build up to big problems in the future. Let's keep in mind that everything you've done so far is a good effort and you're doing your best. Clearly, being a great parent is important to everyone, and everyone hopes that they are doing the best that they can. But I'm here to tell you with screen time, like other addictive substances, hoping for the best doesn't eliminate risk. Kids don't grow out of screen time, it becomes stronger as they get older and more difficult to redirect and make priorities in life. But the good news is, parents do have the magical power to create a clear path and lead their families on a safe daily journey that doesn't involve screen zombies. But first, they need to have a real plan that both parents can be confident of. And that's our first step to making change. Be assured that change can happen, it will happen with the right plan. The first big mistake parents make when trying to stay on a screen limited path or improve their current situation is not having a written plan for their own reference. Not a list of demands for the kids, but a true plan that includes goals based on your unique family values makes a big difference. Instead, most parents react to screen time with frustration, removing devices when they see kids' behavior starting to act up or grades take a dip, or don't even consider the impact it's having in their life with the chaos at all. At this point, it's a crisis, and that's what we want to avoid. Screen time is under parents' control, and parents do have the magic wand to make dramatic changes at home that have big effects in school and extracurricular activities. Once you decide on a plan based on your values, there are tools to help: distraction free phones like Pinwheel and Gab, internet filters, and parental control apps like Our Pact. When you take a look at what's important, rather than being reactive to situations or just making rules, it will guide your actions and decisions around how much screen time to allow and what tools are necessary to reach these goals and what programs or apps to allow. Your media plan will help guide your family through the addictive screen zombie jungle, because studies show that children who help others, act with humility, engage with their family, learn social emotional skills, sleep more, are involved with the team, and are cooperative and collaborative with others have greater success in life than children whose parents try to make them happy by giving them things or access to what they want, which of course is these days above else screen time, apps, and gaming. At Screen Time Clinic, our coaches help you identify what's important to your family and how screens are interfering with the big picture. So, what are the other two biggest tips that make a big difference? Number two is simple, but I know it's easier said than done. Stop worrying about filling every moment of your child's time with something to do, or worse, screens. Don't feel pressured to have them watch shows in hopes of learning something they will need in the future. Allow them to be bored, to have big feelings and emotions, and learn to regulate these emotions, to interact authentically with screen time without screen time interfering with daily and nightly cycles. When children try to convince you they want screen time, you will have a plan in place. You can just remind them it's not on the schedule and choose something else to help them redirect. Number three is to stick to the planned routine because you are the parent and you know what's best for your family better than your children and better than others. Remember, children are not their brain's best friend. Set up parental control apps to limit time if you choose to have a mindful amount of time each day. Don't schedule it before bedtimes or use it as a reward, and don't allow it in bedrooms. If your children are young, we recommend delaying access to time online as long as possible. But there are all sorts of strategies we can talk about and different seminars about why, how, and what are the best tools out there to help this as kids get older? Of course, keep in mind healthy ground rules where screens are off limits that can be outlined in the media plan. Here are some of the zones we recommend making clear screens are not allowed: bathrooms, bedrooms, dinner tables, cars, and during school time. Don't text your kids during school time. Don't allow them to have their phones on. Keep school time dedicated for focusing on interacting, learning, and self regulation. It's worth thinking about all of this now, even if your kids are babies, because the time will come sooner than you think. Parents have the power to make major changes, but there needs to be a plan so they have resolve and stop convincing and start guiding. Now that you hopefully have a new level of clarity about kids and screens, hopefully it'll get you thinking about how you really want your children or those that you advocate for to be as they get older. Where are they going? I realize it's a lot to think about and not a very fun task to sit down and craft a media plan yourself or use a generic free one from the internet that isn't very comprehensive. This is why I invite each of you to book a free 20-minute consultation with me or one of the other coaches at Screen Time Clinic to talk about what it would look like for your family and how to get started on a plan. Thank you so much for joining me today and hope to connect with you in the future.